Am I audible at the back? It's a nice time to have a talk, right? All of you can have a nap after a heavy lunch, and I can also join you. Okay. I couldn't think of a good name for my talk. I called it Back to Basics. Naming is a difficult task, isn't it? I keep asking people what their name stands for, and many would not know what the name stands for. Other day, I met a girl by name Niharika. Would you know what that name stands for? Niharika. Any Niharikas here by any chance? No? What would that stand for? Okay, let's leave it there. What I want to do is, at the end of the day, I want to give you lots of questions to think about. Maybe this could be one of the questions then. So what does Niharika stand for? I don't use slides. I don't know how to use slides. So, okay. So, okay. Ullas is an avid reader. He reads anything and everything in the world. He claimed that he read a novel of some 4,000 odd pages. Right? Okay. I think you should now challenge yourself to read Mahabharata or Vyasa. Just 1 lakh stanzas. As I said, naming is always a difficult task. Does the name matter at all? Shakespeare says this, right? Rose by any other name smells as sweet. Do we agree with him? Should we agree with him? Does the name indicate anything to you at all? Or you can give any name anywhere. I like my name, so when I write a function, I will call the function Kumar. It happened to me. One of my colleagues did that. Her name was Kiran, and she called her function in JavaScript Kiran. Do we follow Shakespeare, or do we want to avoid Shakespeare? Why? Why? Let's say you have a function called ABCD, and you call the function ABCD. What does the function do? You have no idea what it could be doing, isn't it? It does some ABCD. Maybe it prints ABCD or gives a permutation of ABCD, and then if you want to permute PQRS, you write another function for it. Name matters a lot for us, so we always choose a name correctly, and that what is abstraction. I've answered your question, or answered that already, but I'll anyway put that as a question for you as to what is abstraction. Okay. Okay, let's start from this here. What is a list? Okay. What is a list? Ordered collection. Why should it be ordered? Maybe collection of items. So also is a set. So also is an array. They should be of different types. Is that a necessity? Can be. I think you're referring to Python. Why should it be ordered? Can that be indexed? Can a list be indexed? Okay, let's try to understand. Which languages do you know? C, C++. Okay, let's get a poll. Let's get a poll. How many know C? Okay. How many do not know C? I think is a good question. How many do not know C? Oh, I don't like this. Okay. How many know C++? Which C++? 2017, 20, 23? How many of you know Java? Okay. How many of you do not know Python? Do not know Python? Okay, all of you know. I think all of you will be into ML, and therefore you'll be using lots of ML libraries from Python. When I talk about a list, I'm not talking about the list of Python. The list of Python is implemented using an array of pointers in C, right? So when I talk about a list, I'm talking about a list that you come across in data structures. How many of you have not done a course in data structures? Okay, that's good. How many of you have not done a course in algorithms? We have a friend of ours who went through my course struggled through my course, had my papers to answer. Bad luck for her, I think. But she wants to continue with me next time too. I don't know. Okay, I'm talking about data structures, and I'm sure you would have used array. You would have used list. What is the difference between the two? I'm sure many of you will go for placement or internship interviews, and if I come for that, I definitely, this is the first question I'll ask you. What's the difference between an array and a list? Array has to be declared with respect to type when it's initialized, unless there is a mechanism called auto, as in C++. What do you mean by linking? If you ask Ullas about linking, he will say something else. If you ask Ullas about linking, he'll talk about compiling, linking, loading, and all that. Are you talking about that linking? I think my colleague Chittaranjan, my friend Chittaranjan also will talk about something of that kind later. So what is that linking? Challenge for NLP, right? We have lots of funny words, and many words have number of meanings. And the worst word in computer science, believe me, is static. Right? You can, like Amara Kosha, give some 10 meanings for the word static. So what is that linking? You want to continue on that? Oh, I didn't use the word linked at all anywhere. I said it's a list. So what is the difference between an array and a list? Arrays? And what difference does it make in accessing? Random access in array, and in the list, that's the first difference, right? Access time in case of an array is constant time, where in case of a list is linear. One more difference. Okay, now I'll leave it there. So anyway, that could be another question, right? 2 points, you have said one. Who said the first one? Maybe I'm supposed to give some chocolates. Who said that first? Here? Okay. I don't know whether the throw will come until that point. Let me see. No, I'm sorry. I thought we'll go up. Okay, please pass it on. Okay, now. So difference between list and array. Okay. I'll drop the word what from now on. Okay. What is a data structure? Some organization of data. I'm sure you would have studied stacks, queues, trees, and whatnot. Is it possible to implement a stack using a linked list? Can I implement a stack using an array? Then what is salient which stands out between these two? Okay, what is the most important thing in the world in computer science? Minimum time. Is that the most important thing in the world? Time and space, only two things. Maybe before that you have some correctness. You do something very fast but wrongly. Is that okay? Again, I'm very sorry for these hacker ranks, hackers, and so on. They make you think that the only thing in the world is time and space. I don't know. There are many other things which are required. Right? Efficiency is the last important criteria, not the first. You have to get something working, right? Correctness is definitely given. That's a requirement. How many of you have heard of Scott Meyers? SCOTT, Scott, MEYERS. Scott Meyers. But I think most of you claimed you know C++, right? I don't know C++. I'm learning for the last 30 years. And if you claim you know C++, you don't know Scott Meyers, something is wrong somewhere. Okay? I don't know, hope you don't read. I should not name people, so let's leave it there. Okay. There's a video which I will show the link. I can't play it here. And I'll share all this, what I'm trying here. So this is the one which you should see. Okay, once you go back, please look at this. I'll share this file with Ullas. I think he has a way of sharing with you. This is an amazing video. Unfortunately, Scott Mayers retired a year plus back. He's an amazing speaker. He has lots of very good books in C++, effective C++, more effective C++, effective STL, effective modern C++. All are amazing books. So if you want to claim you know C++, please read these books. So again, we come back to the same question. What is the most important thing about software? Yeah. Answer is? Not necessarily. Something more fundamental than design pattern. Abstraction is one definitely already mentioned. There's something much more fundamental than this. We don't care. Do you say C++ is oops? No, right? Is C++ oops language? Have you used STL? Have you used STL? Hey, how many of you use STL, standard template library? Is it object oriented? No. It's object based. There is no inheritance at all for polymorphic usage. There is inheritance for the use, not for polymorphic usage. Basic idea of C or C++ is efficiency. If you use inheritance, you pay for it. It doesn't come free. Would you know what you pay for when you use inheritance? A table per class, a pointer per object, and extra dereferencing. You know that? Good. So we don't do that. Actually, C++, as Trostop says today, is a language which supports multiple abstractions. That's it. Okay, let's change that a bit. How do you drive a car? Assume that most of you do drive a car. What all should you know to drive a car? How to get into the car, that's good. Once you sit in the driver's place, what do you do? What are the controls you'll use? Gears, steering. Gears may not be there in some cases. You might have to have a lever for it. You'll have steering, brake, accelerator. What do you think happens when you do a steering? When you turn to the left, what is expected to happen? The vehicle steers to the left. Would you know how it does it? Would you know whether the controls below are mechanical or hydraulic or something else? Or maybe the whole car is driven by ML? Should you know that to drive a car? Okay, let's say we make a new car now and give it to you to drive, and we'll tell you we have made a small change. When you turn the wheel to the left, the car steers to the right. When you turn to the right, it steers to the left. How comfortable will you be in that? Right? If you don't make an accident, it'll be unusual. I'm not joking, it happened way back. In the good old days, in scooters, two-wheelers, the brake lever was operated by the foot. Vespa, Lambretta, maybe you had heard of those names. When kinetic Honda came in, the brake lever was transferred to the hand. My friend says somebody was driving kinetic Honda for the first time. A truck came in front of him. He wanted to stop the vehicle. He was trying to look for the brake with his foot. He couldn't find it. He crashed into the truck and died. Now, can you now tell me what is the most important thing in the world, including software? The most important thing is the interface. Right? The most important thing is the interface. I don't know how much I'll be able to cover. Please tell me when to stop. I'll stop at that point. Okay. Have you used the function sqrt somewhere? Some language of your choice? You're done. What does sqrt do? Give the square of a number? Square root, cube. There is an abstraction for the name, isn't it? So you expect that when you use the function sqrt, you get the square root of a number. How many arguments do you pass to square root? One or maybe two? One. Most probably a double, and you get a double. Would you know how square root works? How does the computer implement the square root algorithm? Some numerical method. Binary search on what? You don't have a sequence to search here. Unless you assume that you have a table of all possible square roots and do. Reduce what to half? Okay. Hmm. 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 You may not get a correct result. No, if you keep on halving, you may not get what you expect. Let's say I take 25, I halve, I get 12.5, I get 6.25, then you get 3.2 and something, and then when do I stop? I think you're talking about is the bisection method. And the bisection method requires that you have two guesses. Keep the root in between, right? More often than not, they use a Newton-Raphson method. Ullas recently shared another very interesting article where it's done differently. So in Newton-Raphson method, how many of you would have come across this Newton-Raphson method? Oh, I like that. So you start with a single guess and try to move towards the root, right? Okay, let's say I give 25 and I want to find the root. It takes some number of iterations. Is it possible to make the convergence faster if I start with a better guess? If you're all very knowledgeable, you know that the root of 25 is likely to be 4. So maybe I can ask you, don't just give the number, give a guess which is better, then based on that I will be able to converge faster. Possible? Right? You want speed, right? You want efficiency. So now when I want to call sort, I should say 25, 4. You like it? The program becomes efficient? Yes or no? Now I'm giving you a new function called sort, which is more efficient than the one before, and I give 25, 4. I want to find the root of 25, and you are telling me now that 4 is likely to be a better guess. Do you like it or you don't like it? Did all of you fall asleep so quickly? Ask. Okay, we'll think of Python. We'll have a default of 1. Don't give it if you don't want. No, I want to give it. Assume that you can give half of it or whatever. No, I don't want to have a default. For some reason, no.
There is supposed to be a second argument, and there is no programmer-friendly way to compute the second argument. Then I will prefer the first form, which does not need me to give the second argument.
Okay, I think we're digressing at this point. Assume that our users are very knowledgeable and they can think of something closer to the root. Unfortunately, all your existing programs will crash now. They won't compile. To be precise, they won't link. No, they won't compile. Why? In all your code written so far for over number of years, you have been calling square root with 1 argument. Now I'm telling you, no, you can't do that anymore. You have to call with 2 arguments. What will happen to the existing code? All of them will break down, right? So is it possible in the CSI department to change the door here, and there are blind people who know where the door is? So next time they come, there'll be a wall there, door somewhere else. They won't be able to walk in easily. The most important thing in the world is interface, and interface once published can never be changed. You can make a new function called sqrt2, and then definitely we can talk about default there, but sqrt can never be changed. The function implementation can be changed, but you cannot change the interface. The way the steering works in a car can be changed, but you cannot change the steering itself. And it's supposed to turn left when you turn left. Are you with me? This is the most important thing to understand. And a data structure is an interface. You must have come across some terminology like ADT, abstract data type, and that is the interface of the data structure. It says what you can do with it. It does not depend on an implementation. Okay, so what we'll try to do with this, we'll make an interface for a list, pretty simple stuff, all of you know very well. I will try to key in the list. I don't bring anything and show you, I do everything in front of you. I will try to make a list as quickly as possible, make the minimal interface for it, and then let's see how we can play with later. Are you with me? So if you're playing with Java, the first thing you should develop is the interface file. Java has a nice concept for a change called interface, right? Chittaranjan will bear with me. He keeps saying that every time I talk about anything, I should be criticizing Java. Okay, at least that flies for a change. Java also is not a bad language. So Java has something called the interface. So in case I develop a program in C and C++, how do I start? Please make out that there are at least two parties involved in this. Somebody makes it, somebody uses it, right? So when you go to a hotel, you order dosa, and many were talking about Bangalore dosa and Mysore dosa during the lunchtime. I don't know the difference between the two. Okay, you order dosa, and the server, the kitchen, they make dosa and eat it themselves. What will you get? No, right? So there is an interface between the two, and you should expect to get back something. We'll again come back to that point later. So in case I write program in C or C++, the first thing I start is the header file, right? So I will make an opaque data structure called list. Okay, so another term I'm using. So what is an interface? What is ADT? What is an opaque data structure? Okay, so let's see whether I can do it as quickly as possible. So I'll create a file called this.c, a file called this.h, a file called client.c. It could be any language, I'm just using C. And okay, so I'm not using any IDE here. So I start with the list.h. And this is the first thing I always start with. How many of you do this way? Okay, how many of you program in C? Okay, looks like the number is not different. So next question for you is this. Why this? Okay. So here I will have a structure called list. And to make my life easier, for whatever reason, I will give another name for it. And now again, another question for you to think about. What is type def? Anything you want to answer? Yeah. Why do you require it? Can you be more clear on that? How many of you have gone through some Unix programming? Have you come across something called _t signals? No? Would you know what is _t? How is it implemented internally? Is that a single integer? Is it an array of 4 integers? It can be different on different places. This is another interface. We use typedef to make an interface. Okay, so I will have a function to initialize, and I will pass to this pointer to list. I will have a function for displaying a list, and I'll make it a constant pointer here. Okay, and I'll keep my interfaces small. I'll have a function for inserting, and for inserting, I will pass a pointer to list and an integer. I'm trying to make an ordered list. Okay, I could have lots of things. I could have remove the elements and all that. I'm only keeping this again because of shortage of time. Given this, can I write the client program? Program to test this. Make a list and display. Can I? Can I do something like this now? So I save the file. I go here and include a couple of files. Okay, and then I make a list data structure. Sorry for this name. It's as bad as Rose. I'm trying to say a few keywords. Very bad thing to do. The first thing I do is to initialize it. And the next thing I do is to have an array where I have some elements, nothing really in particular, could be anything else. So, and I will have a loop, and I'll also make some mistakes as I go along. Okay. So I just want to check whether you're awake and you're looking at what's happening here. Would this make sense? N is not initialized. So what will be the value of n here? 5 automatically? 0? That be 0? Some undefined value? Okay. So this will not be 0 unless it is global, right? So I'm doing a bit of hard coding here. Okay, now can I compile this program? Can I compile this? How many of you think you can compile? By default, it returns 0. In both C or C++, by default, main returns 0. Can I compile this? The client should only know the interface. Why can't I compile it? So I'll say like this, right? Now I use a command called nm and look at this file. So it says there is something called display, something called init, something called insert. None of them is defined. Something called main is defined. Don't ask me what nm is. I don't know. If you find it, let me know. Anyway, I share my email ID. So let me know what nm stands for. I know what nm does, but I don't know what nm stands for. It's like anything else in Unix. The names are very, very cryptic. Okay, are you comfortable now? Given the interface, I can compile my client code. I don't have any implementation at this point, right? Okay, now let's try to do a bit of implementation. Now what I will do here is to make a linked list. List could be even based on array, right? So I'm making a linked list now. And to do that, I will introduce one more structure called node. And in this structure, I will have a key field, making it simple. I will have a pointer to itself. It's self-referential data structure. So I'll call it link, you may call it next or whatever. And I do a type def. Okay. And again, the point to note is that the client should not know anything about the node. Do you agree with it? Node is my implementation of the linked list. The client should know nothing about node, still the program should work. Because if I expose node, I cannot change it later. Hope you understood the concept of encapsulation in all languages. It is not security at all. The basic idea is to hide what could change and expose what should not change. Hide the implementation, expose the interface, right? So maybe I should put that point also regarding this. What is encapsulation and why hide? So I want to hide so that I can change it later. It is not for data security. If that is that, you must use encryption. Are you okay with this? Now let's have a look and see if anything has to be done for this. That's it. Nothing else need be done for this. And now to complete, or sorry, I require one, right? I require the head of the list to be part of the list. Okay. So I have to implement these functions in list.c, and to do this, I'll take this here. I'll also introduce the library. Okay. And then I will have to implement these three functions. Okay. Don't say anything. Okay. So empty list, what should happen to the head? Null. Okay. How do you display the list? Traverse, right? So what I do now is to keep a variable called temp. What is this temp? Temporary variable? Is temp a temporary variable? It's a type is pointer. Is it temporary? Or what is a temporary variable? Bulas, do you have a test when they go out of this summer class? Surprise test they will have at a known time with the known questions also, known set of questions. Okay. So, so what I will do here is to copy the head onto it and then have a loop in the C way. Okay. Please help me in case I'm going wrong somewhere. I'm trying to key in as quickly as possible. Okay, done. Now my insertion, I want it to be in order. So shall I assume all of you implemented this sometime or the other? Okay, so when you see it here, you won't be seeing stars, right? So I traverse the list and okay, before that, let me also make that node. This may not be necessary, but maybe it's not a bad idea to do. So I traverse using 2 pointers. And then here I try to insert. Okay, I'm not even trying to say it is correct. So what I'll do now is to compile this implementation file. So nice, it compiled. I'll now link the two. Okay, this linking is different than the linking our friend was talking about earlier. I done it. I like this. There are obscene number of reasons why it could have happened. Okay. So we'll try to check a few things. Do you think something is wrong in insert? I should be asking actually something wrong with this or this. Let's pause them. Okay, let's start with insert. Okay, one more question here. Can I change the order here, or is this the way I should give? Please wake up. I can change the order, right? Or anyway, it's commutative, right? No? Logic gates, it's all commutative. K-maps, Quinn-McCluskey's method. Can I change that? Why not? Huh. So what is the thing called? Yeah, it's called short circuit evaluation. And if you're programming in C, C++, and maybe Perl, you have to think about something called the sequence point, which is not discussed in many of the books. Okay. Is it possible for previous to be null when I come here? Can previous be null here? Can present be null? What are the 4 cases? Okay, I already said 4. I don't know why I said that. But what are the 4 cases you must consider while making an ordered list? 4 critical cases. Head is null. Have I taken care of it? Empty list case. I didn't. So maybe I require it to do something here like this. So I should have said if pointer to list arrowhead is null, what do? Head should become, head should take the value of temp. Okay. Otherwise we do all this. Okay. Is it possible for previous to be null here? Temp won't be null because I'm making an allocation. I'm assuming that malloc always succeeds, which isn't true. If previous is null, what does it mean? Where is the insertion happening if previous is null? It's happening in the beginning, right? What should happen if I insert in the beginning? The head has to change. Huh? No. This is taking care of empty list. It's not same as insertion in the beginning of the list. There are 4 cases, as I mentioned earlier: empty list, beginning, middle, or the end. Middle or end will be same. I'm not discussing that at length now, right? Because my interest is a bit different. So I'll recompile the code which has changed. I link it. I run now. It still gives segmentation fault. Ullas said something earlier. I don't know. What do you want me to do, Ullas? Recompile everything, right? So when there is a small problem in a hole in a wall, demolish the whole wall, start all over again, right? So okay, we'll do that. That's what Ullas wants. So let's try. Okay, now let's try to link it, and now it worked. Why is that? Did I change the client at all? See, I'm trying to make it such a way that I don't want to touch it, right? The car steering is still the same. Maybe I'm changing some parts below. Why should I recompile it? Huh. I like that. Okay, that's the best answer we have got so far. Hope I don't know how. Don't worry, I'm tossing, so it's not going to hurt you. Did you get what he said? When you include a file and that included file changes, you'll have to recompile. Not going to be easy, right? Okay, so we know what is it. Is there a way to avoid that? Can we avoid that somehow? I don't want to recompile the code each time the server code changes or the header file changes. Heard of pimple? Pimple? I'm not talking about what happens on your skin, no. PIMPL? That I think is due to Herbert Sutter. I'm not sure though. Another great name. Okay, so another question for you to think about: how to avoid recompilation of the client code. So a hint for you here is that look at what is called pimple, or is also called the handle body idiom. Not possible to discuss today, so we leave it there. Okay, now let's. How much time have I taken? Okay, already 45 minutes gone. No, yeah. Okay, so anything you want to ask about this so far? So quickly, we'll do one thing now. I will try to rewrite these 2 files, but I don't want to touch the client file. At the most, we would require a recompilation, so it still work. You will have to help me out in this because I'm running out of time. So what I will do now is remove this piece of code. Okay, and try to implement this in a different way. So I'll change my list to have, I'll change my node, and the link field now is an index in an array, so it's an integer. And my list has an array of nodes, and I'll fix the size to some value, very bad thing that. And I will also have head, which is an integer. Another bad implementation here, I will have something called temp, which indicates the next place to add. I will not change any of this. So my list has changed now, right? And I will not be changing this anymore. I'll recompile the client code, and after that, I will not touch the client code. Okay? Now, based on what I changes I done now, I'll have to re-implement the list here. Okay? Are you used to this if 0, if 1? No, that's the best way of removing a code from your C or C++. Just it avoids recompilation. It doesn't even compile this portion. I'll have to re-implement all these functions now. Okay? It'll be a bit complicated, but bear with me. So the first thing is in the initialization, I have head, which is grounded. I'll make it -1. 0 is the first valid index. Okay, and for some reason, I will make temp equal to 0, indicating the position where I can insert the first element. It's a bad thing, bad design, but that's all I can do here. Here, this will be an integer. While temp is not equal to -1, I'll do something here. These two will be a bit funny. The elements are in the array of nodes, right? And temp is the index on it. So pointer to list points to your list. In that there is an array. Array is indexed using temp, and I get a key here. Are you with me? Should I draw something and show? Are you comfortable? I have an array to store the information. And here, how to go to the next element? To go to the next element, I will use something very similar. So I pick the link field here. Okay. And the most complicated thing is insert. I should be careful here. So what I do now is to have temp, and temp is the next location where I could insert, and I'm trying to make my life easier. Not the right thing at all, not the best one. If there are deletions, my program won't work. So I'll pick up the value of temp, increment it, and take the earlier value. So I got the position for this. Now I have to put that into the node now. So pointer list is a pointer to a list that has an array A, and I put the key here. Okay. Okay. So if it is -1, what do? This should work. Head is temp. Otherwise, is fine. Present is not equal to -1. How do you get the key? To get the key, this is the way to write, but I should take it on the present. Okay. How do you change the link? If previous is -1, I must change this. And what about this? Please help me in this if I go wrong. What about this? It has compiled. The linked. It also worked. Okay. Sorry that I didn't explain anything there. I just went on writing as badly as I could ever think of. Uh, but again, I was trying to make time to discuss something else. Are you clear about this concept? The most important concept is the concept of interface. The header file in C and C++ will be the interface. Interface by itself is an amazing concept in Java, and that's what we develop. To use that, interface should never be changed. Interface is sacred for us. Once you publish the interface, you should never change. We have tried a few experiments in many companies, especially with new joiners. We asked two of them to develop something together. We tell them discuss for 15 minutes, discuss what should be your interface, then separate out. After that, you can't talk to each other. It never works. Within 15 minutes, they'll come and say, no, we have to talk to them because they want to miss something out. That clearly indicates the most important thing while designing is the interface and not the implementation. That can change. Efficiency can be done later, but you should not try to make anything and everything efficient at the beginning itself, right? You know the 80-20 rule. 80% time, 20% of code is executed, and if you try to make the whole program efficient, you don't get ROI, returns on investment at all. Only what is considered a bottleneck, you should try to make it efficient. For that, you do something called profiling. I think maybe you touch upon that also. Not likely. Okay. There is one thing terrible in this particular piece of code. Can somebody tell me what is wrong with this piece of code? Something is wrong here. Something is wrong here. What is wrong with this? It works. We have shown that it works. The correctness is guaranteed. Code redundancy, I like that. So there is some code which is exactly same in both sides, both if and the else. Takes a few bytes extra, right? 20 bytes on a hard disk of 4 terabyte or something. Does that make a difference? It doesn't, right? A drop of poison in milk. How? Only a few bytes. Did all of you do a course in databases? You learned something called normalization. Maybe learn to forget. Because when we see final year projects, nobody does normalization at all. Why do you want to avoid redundancy? Takes more space, therefore takes more space to write onto the disk. Data? What? It's working correctly. What's error? That's the point. Okay. How do you pass it? Maybe you can pass it back. Yeah. Okay. Are you sure your code will remain the same for life? What is constant in this world? What is constant in the world is change. When something changes, you should remember to change at every place. Otherwise, you don't know what you have. That's the reason we do normalization. It's not to save space. That's secondary, right? Okay, that's a good point. And I written it badly to show you, and I leave it at this. Okay, we'll discuss one thing as quickly as possible. I started a bit late, right? Chittaranjan, I will take 10 minutes of your time. 15? Okay. Thank you, being generous. I want to write some function for searching. So can you help me in doing it? I want to search. Is a meaningful interface on a list? Search for an element? Yes? What should search return? Index. I have a list of million records, huge data set from ML, and I do a search, and then return some 999999. So what do I do after that? More often than not, you do a search and replace, right? How will I go and replace again? You got the index, so how will I go back there? You didn't get it. You have a list. On the list, your search function returns nicely that this is the position where the element is. How will I go back and change it? Maybe you have your grade cards in a list, and maybe your CGPA has become 8 and you want to make it 9. So, and you ask for a search. So they will, I don't know what your name is, I don't ask you because I won't remember. So it will go and say, oh, in this place, is this record at place 10,025. So how will you go back to that location to change the grade? Can you do directly go in there? Can you go directly there? In case of an array, an index is perfectly all right. Not in case of a list. Doesn't make sense. You can't go back directly there. Which pointer to what? What is a type? Assume that I will go back to the old one, node list, linked list of nodes. What do you return? Pointer to your node. Okay. Please think, I write a nice function and I make it return pointer to node. But then I change over to the implementation of array node. What do I do? Will it work now? The minute you allow the client to use pointer to node, you are exposing the node. You cannot remove that afterwards. So what do you think we should do? Void. What do you do with it? It's void. You can't even cast it to anything. You don't even know what to cast to. Casting is the most dangerous thing ever. All of you know C++. You would have heard of something called reinterpret underscore cast. Yes or no? How many of you know reinterpret underscore cast? Whenever you want to change the type, you have to use it. When you change a pointer type, it's the most dangerous operation ever. Because dereferencing will be unusual. Incrementing point will be unusual. Right? Any arithmetic on that will be unusual. So you don't want to return a pointer to void. That's the craziest thing to do. Unless it's something like malloc. Yep, what do you do? All of you know Python. You should be knowing what to do. What does the for loop in Python do? For variable in range? Nothing else you can use? Same thing called iterable, right? You walk through an iterable. So the way to do is to make another opaque object which talks about a position. That's called the iterator, right? So what I will try to do is to quickly write a search function with iterator. Not the best of it, because again, I don't have much time. I can only show for the linked list implementation. I leave it to you to figure out similarly for the array implementation. Is that okay? So please help me in this. So the signature of the function is again sacred, right? So what I will do is to go back to the earlier code. So nice it is in C. Okay. So I remove this piece of code. I'll enable this. Okay. So go to the header file. I'm adding something more. And I have to have another opaque type called iterator. And in this type here, I will have it as a pointer. But I don't expose it to the user, right? Some name. I just call it pointer to iterator, whatever. And again, I do a type def. And I use the Unix philosophy of suffixing underscore t at the end. Okay. Then what is the signature of such function now? I give a pointer to the list. I'll change it. I saw that typo. Okay, and then I'll give a key to be searched. And on the iterator, I will try to provide a function get. Okay. Actually, I should have next. I must have set. Set is not okay in this case, but I'm not doing any of them. I just keep it like this. Extremely simple thing here. Okay. So what will the client do? The client will now have an iterator object. You will call find with the list with the value say 40. And one more thing we should know whether the iterator is empty, right? So for that we'll also add one more. Okay, we'll check whether iterator has reached the end. Okay, it returns a Boolean value. So now in the client, if not of end of IT. I'll say, no. I'll say found, no. Okay. I'm doing a hard coding, but found person D. Okay. So I'm trying to make 2 test cases. Hopefully it takes care of the code coverage. And I'm doing the worst thing in programming, cut, copy, paste. And I will do with some value which may not be there. I'll save this. I should be able to compile the client if nothing else is wrong. Okay. So now in the list, I'll have to implement these 3 functions. So what do you think I should do here? I return. What is the field name? I don't know. It became too long. I think I'll just call it P. Okay. So one is over. Get is also simple. What do you do in get? It is not a save function. So it is a pointer to a iterator. There's something called P, pointer to node, that has a key. How do you search? Searching will be like display, right? So I start with node. Well, temp is not null, and temp arrow key is not equal to key. Again, I'm a bit sloppy here. I do this. And what do you think I should do here now? I'd make an iterator. Okay. And initialize that with temp and return res. Ah, I like this. I should have enabled this. Disabled this. And copy this portion here. Okay. Okay, that's it. So that's about the iterator concept, which is very important. Unfortunately, I don't think we teach that at all in any of the courses, do we? Again, understand why we require the concept of iterator. We do not want to expose to the client the implementation. What is the concept of a position could vary depending upon the implementation. It could be a pointer, could be an integer, could be something else. So make an opaque object called the iterator, and that iterator in turn provides get, set, next, and previous, or whatever, depending upon it. In case you know STL, you would know there's a hierarchy of iterators in C++. So any collection requires an iterator. Unfortunately, when we teach data structures through C, we don't even talk about the iterator concept, right? So I thought I will introduce that. So now is for you to re-implement this iterator using arrays and see how it comes up, right? Okay, that's all I think I had time. So anything you